the fall of 2010, the bishop had requested a structural review of the churches in Holyoke, and when we arrived on site, we discovered 19 inches of pigeon guano on this floor, 19 inches deep, which had to be removed before the structural engineer could get in and make an assessment. The engineer recommended that before we get into the fall-winter season, that the steeple come down. We're talking the wood structure. We put a cap on top of the masonry. Because the cost to fix this would be prohibitive. That's what it should be. You can imagine what it would cost to take all of these apart and bring all new ones in.
What happens is that the whole structure from here up, in order to hold it down onto the top of the masonry structure, that's what they use. They use these tension rods, tie rods. Okay? Basically what it does is, as the wind goes, it moves like this here. Those are actually holding this cap, the steeple, on top of the frame. So you got the crack where the tie rod's coming down through. You also have this bracket coming up to the mid-span, the one going diagonal. If you get a shot from up underneath, you'll see that the beam has split and part of it's rolled. The danger there is we get heavy winds and it racks from this direction here. This thing's just going to start moving. You can see some of the masonry around here, it's cracked. That's from movement. The tie rod that we saw upstairs that came down through that large cracked heavy timber. As you can see how loose it is here. Basically what this tie rod does is it runs through this beam going from masonry wall to masonry wall. That's how it's tied down into the structure to hold it from uplift and overturning. As you can see how loose it is. This beam here, and there's 4 of them in this area. The end support, you can see there's been some work done on it before. It's cracked, so obviously there was some type of movement going on with this tie and all the ties and the timbers that are holding it down.
There's nothing structurally from the people that we've had up there wrong that would endanger the safety, that would require scaffolding or anything else. What we've seen from the engineering firm is simply scare tactics. And really what they're talking about is spending a lot of money for no reason. Repairs and improvements up there start with closing off the vents that allow pigeons to get in there and deposit their droppings. That's going to be the first issue. The other issue was improper maintenance by not putting up the proper number of ladders in a safe way against the brick walls in order to access the bell tower. That has to be fixed. And those are all minor things. The other things is the brickwork has to be pointed, but that's another, not a major structural defect. As far as the tension rods are concerned, those can be shimmed or they can be removed completely and replaced with short. Now, any of the timber cracks that they had up there, those can simply be fixed by putting steel plates over them and screwing them in.
We saw that the sheathing was rotting, but that's a condition that develops with the wet-dry cycles of water infiltrating the building. So we started there, and if they maintained a tight, watertight building, you wouldn't have had most of these issues. But you're also talking a building of the age that this is. You get 1 or 2 pieces of slate falling down, you're not going to get a crane or somebody in to fix it. But when you have a number of them to where you have large areas of slate missing, you need to do something.
Everybody who's been up there basically says the same thing. There's nothing in there that endangers the steeple, the immediate surroundings at this time. The only thing that could wipe out the steeple would be a catastrophic event such as the tornado in Springfield.
Back when this was built, there was no building code. based it on where they did it. You know, they built a steeple here, they built a steeple across town. So basically, you know, to go back and reanalyze it, you know, we have to figure out what the species of the wood is, which you'd probably take a core sample, send it up to UMass and get the species, and then start taking the reductions based on what we see for splits, cracks, and like I said, the torsional rotation that you have on some of these.
But the things that are going wrong are basically maintenance issues that would take place in a church that's over 100 years old. And since they failed with the maintenance, then it costs more money to do the repairs.
The one up in St. Mary's in Northampton, we were inside that steeple there. Did the repairs necessary on the slate roof. The one down in the flats of Holyoke, Immaculate Conception, I ended up demolishing that church, you know. So, but to say if I've seen one come down a steeple, no.
You're not going to see anybody build a heavy timber steeple anymore. Most of the steeples that you see now are prefabricated steeples that come out of
Campbellsville, down in Tennessee.
Yeah, either Tennessee or Texas.
Right, that's where they're all made today.
And basically they're designed for the wind loads in the area here, and basically the same thing. They have to be tied down to the roof structure or the building structure. Perfect example of that is, was it 4, 5, 6 years ago? St. Patrick's and South Hadley.
South Hadley.
We had that heavy windstorm, and the steeple started rocking in the wind. And that all had to do with the way they tied the steeple down to the main roof structure, was the bolts.
It's been taken off since.